Hello, welcome. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundell. This is your Aries full moon deep dive video. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. Also, briefly, I'd like to tell you about my year 2021 personal horoscope special offer. If you order this year, you can get the rest of 2020 free and the whole of 2021 in terms of your forecast, and get your character analysis and also 30% off. But this is based on your personal birth data of time, date and place of birth. So no two reports are the same. This is your personal celestial blueprint, and it can give you outstanding knowledge and information in detail to guide your moves. Now, this full moon occurs on the 1st of October. And in fact, we've got two full moons this month. The second is on the 31st in the sign of Taurus. But this one in Aries is going to be conjunct Chiron, the comet that is the wounded healer. Now, Chiron is very much in the sign of Aries about identity. And we've got an opportunity to transform all of our identities. And frankly, we kind of have to, because the reality has shifted so much with COVID. But this full moon, of course, is when the sun is in the sign of Libra. So Libran energy is very much about finding balance. Aries energy is much more impulsive. It's about getting on with it. And of course, we have Mars, the ruler of Aries, also in Aries at the moment, but in a retrograde. And that continues to be in a very tense right angle with both Saturn and Pluto, which you can see on the wheel on the screen. What does that suggest? Well, the energy of Saturn is very restrictive and limiting, whereas Mars energy in Aries is very much about the individual, whereas that energy of Saturn in the top of the chart, in the sign of Capricorn, is very much about the orthodox. So what we're going to see is some people finding it difficult to comply with some of the instructions, some of the orders, if you like, inverted commas, that are coming down from above. But also, Mars is in a square with Pluto, and this gives us tremendous power potential. If it's used wisely, a tremendous amount of grit and determination to get things done. But what's important here is to try to keep in balance the principles of the self, which is coming through the energy of Aries, and the more collegiate, harmonizing energies of the sun in the sign of Libra, which is very much about balance. Now, you can also see on the screen that on the other side of the heavens, just into the sign of Scorpio, we have Mercury, but also Juno, the asteroid of relating. But Mercury in particular is in opposition to Uranus, and that's going to create a lot of nervous energy. But of course, both are in fixed signs. Uranus is in its full in Taurus, where it's not at its best, and Mercury is more penetrative and it's looking for deeper answers in the sign of Scorpio. So whatever we're going to be faced with during this following 2-week period, it's going to be very important to try to master a desire on our part to kind of react, to think things through quickly, or to push back when things do feel stuck or limited through that fixed time energy. And of course, the energy of the sun in Libra is very democratic, it's very fair, it's very much about finding that equilibrium. But sometimes Libran people spend so much time being good eggs and bending over backwards to please others that they lose a little bit of their identity. So for all of us, it's about finding our identity with that Moon Chiron combination, but at the same time staying in tune with others, and at the same time not letting the square between Mars and those two big beasts, those higher octave big beasts of Saturn and Pluto, suggest that we act in a way which takes shortcuts, which uses a kind of might is right attitude, because that's going to be counterproductive. Now, please stay with me, because I'm going to give you your forecast for each of the zodiac signs. Hello Aries. Well, for you this is very much this full moon about relationships. And if a relationship has reached a difficult impasse, I do think the next couple of weeks point towards some kind of power battle or tussle for authority, particularly if it's a tie with someone who's invading your boundaries in some ways, not recognising or respecting your sensitivities. Now that could be a very long-standing familial relationship, could be one with a boss. It doesn't have to be of a romantic kind. I think there may be part of you that does want something positive to happen around your love life, but with Mercury and Juno in your 8th solar house, that's very much about deeper transformations. And I think having those two of Saturn and Pluto right at the top of your chart can make you very frustrated if people aren't being fair with you, and there may be part of you that wants to be a bit more forceful if that's the case. But it is just about using the right amount of pushback, not pushing too hard, because then you kind of get to the same level as the person that you feel is not recognising or respecting what you're saying, what you have to offer, or your needs. So this is a good time for you to definitely firm up your boundaries, but also a good time to check that you're giving what someone needs from you or clarifying what you're prepared to give. But generally, this is very much about relationships for you. Now for you, Taurus, this full moon is very much about the more psychological side of your nature. Now, it's possible that someone at work is perhaps not entirely impressed with your performance. I don't want you to be paranoid, but just be aware of those office or work-based politics. It could be that somebody is just going to jab in an unexpected piece of criticism, and do you know, they might be saying something that has an element of truth to it. But equally for you, that might be okay. You might be quite prepared to take some criticism. So it's more of a case of how it's said, not really the issue itself. But just be aware that it is important for you at this time, when this full moon is considered in the whole, to be conscious of your spiritual, psychological and emotional health as much as your more physical vitality, which is coming from where the sun is located. But I think around relationships, the next couple of weeks does suggest some kind of excitement, and perhaps it is possible that someone's going to approach you about a job opportunity, but they may want you to keep it quiet for now. So that energy in your 12th solar house of the moon and also Chiron and Mars may be linked to someone that you've worked with or know from your past, and there could be some kind of connection or need to contact them, or someone could come through to you. But the way this happens can have a sense of electricity and excitement around it, which could make your pulse race, whether it is that work-based opportunity or it is something more romantic. Now Gemini, this full moon goes across the axes of your 11th and 5th houses. The sun's in one of its most wonderful locations of the year, quite frankly. This is all about manifesting your desire to have good fun, to be playful, creative, and on the other side of the heavens, your direction of travel is marked up by the energy of Mars, Chiron, and the moon. Now, is it that you've got some friendly associations or some plans for the future, but you're not quite feeling that all of those talents are being manifested in the way you want? It could be that you're showing a lot of creativity, a lot of passion for something, but you're not seeing the financial rewards. And one of the things that's going to be important with Pluto and Saturn squaring up to Mars is that you don't get too exasperated that things aren't going at the pace you want. I think what you can do at this time is manage your time more effectively, and also equate about who's really important for you in terms of where you invest that energy. And if there is someone that you're feeling really excited about in a romantic context, it's just possible it could be someone that in some ways does challenge you. So as much as you could be drawn to them, there may be another part of their energy that does make you think a little bit or just startles you. But that doesn't mean to say that you shouldn't still be open to it. Now Cancer, this full moon for you occurs in the part of your horoscope to do with your worldly interactions. just at the time when the sun is in a part of your horoscope to do with your home and emotions. So if there's something that's being discussed around where you live over the next couple of weeks, some changes that you're making to your abode, then that could be something that you can actually manifest in a very positive way. It could be something that really comes into focus. I do think there's going to be lots of interactions, perhaps emails going backwards and forwards. You may be very inspired and be having lots of ideas, but whatever is being discussed, I do think the points of view of those people you're interacting with, they're very important to take into consideration, because with Saturn and Pluto in your 7th house squaring with Mars, there could still be a little bit of a tendency to want things on your terms, which is absolutely fine. We all want things on our terms, but sometimes we just have to see the bigger picture a little bit more for how that all fits in with others. And someone may see something a little bit differently to you, and just with a little bit of compromise and give and take, everybody can get what they need. But if it's only going to be one person's vision or one person's approach, that could be a little bit of a problem. Leo, this particular full moon occurs in a delightful part of your horoscope because it's all about the desire for fresh energy, more spontaneity and differences. And of course you have Mars in the area of this full moon anyway, so for some time you've been feeling the desire to change things up, be a bit more spontaneous. And of course, if that's possible and things are changing for you, there could be a sense of excitement. But with Uranus in the part of your horoscope to do with work, but also your worldly interaction clashing with Mercury in your sector of the home, if there are conversations you need to have with loved ones, I wouldn't delay in having those. There's a sense of urgency around your situation at the moment, but definitely excitement. So lots of ideas are being considered, and things could change very quickly around your work or where you live. Now Virgo, this full moon occurs in your 8th solar house, very much to do with transformations. It can be a part of the year which is to do with ends and beginnings. That's where the moon is, that's where Mars is. And that can be also to do with intimate relationships. Is there someone that you're strongly attracted to? With that duo of Saturn and Pluto in your 5th solar house, along with Jupiter, it's entirely possible that that's the case. Also, Jupiter and Neptune are still forging an awesome angle, which can be excellent for a relationship. But I just sense there could be some politics around a relationship, especially if you and a partner have a different set of values, core values, or different approaches to spending decisions. There could be a little subtle tussle going on, or something more powerful. Or conversely, if you're single, you may find yourself really attracted to someone who's very intense, challenging, not necessarily the most easygoing character in the world, but someone who does kind of arouse your excitement, puts you a little bit on red alert, but that's what makes it all the more exciting. Now for you, Libra, this full moon is undoubtedly a potential challenge to the individual plans that you've been wanting to manifest. And that's going to come up to a peak when there's the new moon in your sign on the 16th. But for now, this full moon, I think, is saying to you, there could be someone around you who's not particularly happy with the direction of travel that you're taking at the present time. And it really wouldn't be a surprise if it's actually someone quite close to you. Now, I'm sorry if this seems like a broken record, because, of course, with having Pluto in your 4th house, in the sign of Capricorn since 2008, that's 12 long years of huge potential transformations around where you live, family life, and your emotional evolution. But also having Saturn there the last couple of years has potentially been quite bruising. You've become much more conscious of the pressure or the expectations of those close to you. On the other hand, Jupiter has created the potential for some opportunities. Maybe there's been some new people added to your clan. So it's a bit of a mixed picture, but because Saturn and Pluto are in a square with Mars, which is in the part of your scope which is making you more assertive, I just think that assertiveness for me is a good thing for you, because I feel there is a tendency with Libra people to be too much people pleasers, and then you lose your identity. But just be aware, in the next couple of weeks, someone could be a bit of a moaning mini about this more single-minded vision that you're developing. There can also be some sudden communiques or energies or action or development around your financial resources due to Uranus and Mercury being in opposition. Now, Scorpio, of course, you have Mercury and Juno in your sign in an opposition with Uranus in your sector of relating. So relationship issues, I think, could be sort of, there's an edge, there's maybe excitement, maybe there's tension, maybe something that has been bubbling away under the surface for a very long time needs to come out. And with the moon position being in your 6th house, which is very much to do with the practicalities of life, but the sun being in the 12th house, much more psychological, about taking time out to reflect. And that cluster of Jupiter, Saturn and Pluto all in the 3rd house of everyday ideas, it really wouldn't be a surprise if you're cogitating about what to do, but that's creating a lot of nervous energy and you may not be quite sure what to do with it, and you could be feeling a little bit vulnerable, particularly if you are working a planet into a particular point of action and it does require some major shift in your life, and that could therefore be around a relationship, and that could be stressing you a bit if you are thinking about making a big change. But equally, in a professional situation or in terms of your just general vitality, just be aware that you could feel a bit stressed out over the next couple of weeks. So try to get lots of rest, get to bed early, eat well, eat as nutrient a diet as you can, and do try to get some gentle exercise too. Now, Sagittarius, this full moon occurs in the most playful and joyful part of your horoscope, your sister fire sign of Aries, but it's conjunct Chiron. Are you being as creative and playful as you could be? Is it the case that you're very good at perhaps recommending what other people do with their love life, but you're not acting out what you could do with your love life or with your core talents? That's something to consider. And there may be part of you that's also in the mood to take some risks financially, but I would be careful in that regard, because with Saturn in a square with Mars, you could go for it and then that could leave you exposed, or maybe speculation is not the right thing to go for at the moment. The sun's in the part of your horoscope to do with your future and to do with your friendships and long-term plans. So its angle over to the moon can create a lot of excitement, but also some options. You may find yourself in some ways a little bit of a kind of juncture and not quite sure which direction to turn in. And with Mercury in your 12th house, a lot of thinking's going on about how to manage this. And I do feel you could be a little bit on edge. So the best thing to do with all these different possibilities and different options is not to rush anything. You can be someone who likes to just get on with it. You can be a little bit impatient. You're a fire sign, you're mutable. You're not one for too much navel gazing. You're one to just dig in. You're very optimistic. Your ruler Jupiter gives you that get up and go, that hale and hearty, larger than life character. But this is probably a time to be as strategic as possible, but at the same time embrace your talents and also the potential to attract goodness to you as far as your love life is concerned. Now, Capricorn, your sign obviously still has those three very important members congregated there, the posse as I've been calling them, in the guise of Jupiter, not at its best with you. Saturn, it obviously is at its best. This is where it's in its dignity. And of course, you also have Pluto. But Pluto and Saturn are in a right angle still with Mars. That's broadly been going on with Mars since the 27th of July. And once Mars went into that retrograde and then started to go quicker in its retrograde than Saturn in it, they've tightened up again together, and guess what? The pandemic is coming back with a little bit more energy, because the Mars energy that's been going on the last few months has been very much about individual needs, people doing what they want for themselves, not necessarily considering the wider implications. And this is something that you have a real understanding for. But I think for you at the moment, there's a huge sensitivity about your home, your family, and your emotional connections. However successful you are, and there's no doubt about it, the sun is giving you an opportunity to showcase your talents in much of this month. But however successful you are, it's how it feels, Capricorn. And if you have a great success and you're well paid and you have a really nice accommodation or the latest car, but you don't have that emotional depth to your existence, it could all feel a little bit empty. So I think you're being asked with the combination of the full moon and Chiron to work on any emotional lacking that you may be experiencing at the present time, and any big worldly decisions that you may take need to be guided by how comfortable and how at ease you feel about them in terms of your more personal dimension. Now, Aquarius, this full moon occurs in the third solar house, where Mars has been. This has been creating a lot of excitement. Mars has been making you punchier in the last couple of months in terms of how you've been expressing your ideas, your belief systems, and maybe also a bit more defensive. It's possible that over the last couple of years, it's all felt very challenging. I can really relate to that. Some very sensitive stuff from the past has had to be chomped through, dealt with, looked at in the most intense ways. And sometimes it's felt that every person, has wanted to kind of find or exploit some kind of vulnerability, which has been really, really difficult to deal with. So Mars's square with Saturn has perhaps evoked a much more protected side of your nature, and if so, good for you. But it mustn't become a habit, because really Aquarius people are at their best when they keep believing in the goodness of person kind. Keep rising above, as Michelle Obama says. Rise above the bad stuff. It's really hard to do, but keep trying to do it. And this particular full moon suggests that something's changing in your world. There's a sense of excitement. And it could be linked to where you live, with Mercury in the 10th house. It's possible there's contracts being discussed. You may be dealing with professional people. There may be some training going on. But all these new ideas and energies that are coming in are going to create a great deal of vibrancy and excitement for you. One thing's for sure at the present time, it ain't going to be dull. And finally, and as always, not least, Pisces. Lovely Pisces, where I have my draconic or soul or spiritual ascendant. Now, and just so you know, Elisa has a natal midpoint here, midpoint between the sun and the moon in Pisces. And Pisces energy for me is in the 5th house, so I really love Pisces people. So your great gift in life is that you're able to direct so many different facets of your nature to different issues in terms of solutions. You have such flexibility. And of course, you're a mutable sign. And this full moon is occurring in your sector of everyday resources. And because Chiron's there, how do you feel about your financial situation at the moment? Is there a lack-in? Or how do you feel about your self-worth? Because the second house, astrologers often focus on the more material, practical, prosaic side of it, which is the cash, the loot, the second house, but forget about the self-worth. How is your self-worth? With Chiron on that moon, it's going to be tested over the next couple of weeks, but it can be an opportunity to grow and evolve. Chiron can heal as well as challenge. And of course, because we have the sun on the other side of the heavens in the part of your horoscope that's to do with your longer term developments, the longer term resources, there may be something that does need juggling in terms of the ins and outs as far as your resources are concerned. But I think this is a definite opportunity to think about your self-worth. And with Saturn and Pluto in your 9th house of knowledge, someone can give you extra knowledge, or you could read a self-help book or do your own research. There can be a real evolution in your personal attitudes that comes from this particular full moon. And with Mercury in opposition to Uranus, I do think some information or knowledge or something A conversation can happen in a very unexpected way, which does provide a lot of illumination, but also a lot of excitement. Well, that concludes all 12 zodiac signs. It's been a real honour being with you. Please don't forget to check out that year 2020 special offer, personal horoscope special offer below. But for now, stay safe, take care, good luck, and goodbye.